and vice versa. And I explained that the way data is being transferred is through what? Request and responses. So your front end sends a request to the what? To the back end using your HTTP transfer protocol or whatever transfer protocol you are trying to employ. You understand? Sends a request and then in return delivers a what? A response to the front end. Do you get it now? And there is a medium in which all of these things go. You can use your API to send data. Now, into the class, we are going to be talking about, I'm going to be giving you step-by-step examples of how you can work with promises and how you can work with asynchronous JS. Then later, we'll move into what, how we can get API data from the backend. Again, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you basic examples of promises, first of all, so you familiarize yourself with promises and async and await kind of function. And then from there, we'll make sure that we'll go into what? Fetching data from API on the server. So first of all, we'll go into our code and I'm going to write my promises. So I have some of the examples here. Then we're going to use them. So first of all, let us write a promise that that tries to check if a particular user is active or not. You understand? So what are we going to do? We're going to write a control A. We are going to write a function, right? And in that function, we're going to use this function to check if a particular user is active or not. Now I'm going to simulate the data. When I say simulate the data, I'm going to just make sure that I'm going to add code to the data, add code certain data types, certain values rather. So I hope everybody's with me. I hope I'm not using too many big words. You understand what I'm trying to say? Good. So first of all, we're going to write a function, right, that gets what? Users. That was a mistake. Users, right? Now, in this function, what are we going to check? We're going to return a promise. And if you are working on promises, this is how you get promises. So to set a promise, use your what's new, and then what you set your what your promise. Now this is how promises are being written. I'm going to start again. If you want to write your promise, this is how promises are being written. First of all, I talked about promise before in our previous lesson. Who was there when I talked about promise? What are promises? You are there, but you are not there yet. You are going there. Oh, you raised up your hand. You raised up your hand. Somebody raised up your hand. Okay, you raise up your hand and pray. Raise up your hand. You don't say anything. You don't remember what promises are. You're not in the class, okay. You're not in the class. Yeah. I remember everybody's face that you checked. Okay, continue. And where is Samuel? And where is progress too? He's not coming again. Oh, okay. Continue. Continue. Okay. Let me just explain what promises are. Promises are asynchronous functionalities that you give to. Okay, let me just asynchronous functionalities. Now, what are asynchronous functionalities? Asynchronous means that they tend to wait for something before they occur. You understand? They tend to, for instance, they don't just happen, right? They happen due to certain functionalities. So, for instance, you can talk about your set timeout, right? Your set timeout is now trying to say, okay, I need to wait for a particular amount of time before this function is executed. That means it is waiting for something to happen before that function is executed. Do you get it? That is what your asynchronous function is. Now, promises is now a type of asynchronous functionality. Just like set timeout is a type of asynchronous functionality. Is it clear to you? That's exactly what promises are. Now, promises are now like the core function or core aspect of what asynchronous JavaScript. Now, what they do is that they help you write functionality that help you wait on certain functionalities before they occur. What does promises do for you? Promises will allow you, help you to write certain functionalities that wait for what other functionalities to occur before they happen. Do you get it? So it's just like saying that, okay, before I can teach in this class, I'm going to write the functionality to make sure that everybody is in the class before I start teaching. That's a word. That's a promise. If nobody is in this class, I'm not going to teach. Do you get it? That's a promise. If you are in this class, then I'm going to teach. If not, I'm not going to teach. That is a promise. You have two promises there. One that depends on what the success of you teaching, or one that depends on what on the failure of me teaching, of me not teaching rather. Now, if I teach, that promise is a what? Success. If I don't teach, that promise is a what? A failure. Do you understand? Is it clear to you? That's what promises are. Now, to write your promise, you have to what, put two things in consideration. The first is your resolve, and the second is your what? Your reject. Resolve is the what? The success. Reject is the what? What's the reject? Failure. And how do you now write your promise? Your promise has a syntax. You use your what? Your new, starting with your new keyword, and then your what? Your promise keyword. Do you understand? Is it clear to you? Then you now go ahead and what? And write your what? Your resolve and what? Reject. Now these are the two functionalities that your promise takes in. It first of all takes in the what? The resolve, and then it takes in the reject. You cannot go ahead and create your own function. Now, in this function, you can now have your what? The results for what? Resolve, which is success, and the result for what? Reject, which is what? Failure. I'm not going to go ahead and do something. Now we can say, if true, what do you want? You cannot say, you know what? Let us go ahead and write a better function. Now, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Let's write something like, let's say, let A equals to what? 10, right? And let B equals to what? Equals to 20. Do you understand? Now, we cannot create a function that says what? Compare values. A function that says what? Compare values. Let's say compare values. Now, what exactly are we trying to do? We're trying to compare if A and B are what? The same. Do you understand? Now, we cannot create a promise. If A and B are the same, what will it give to us? Result. That's a success. But if A and B are what? Different, what will it give to us? Failure. So we can go ahead and come here and say, if what? We cannot say sum. Let's give it sum. And in the sum, we cannot say what? Sum equals to what? No. Let's do something else. Let's say A. Let's say A comma B. Right? Then we cannot check to say if, you know what? Let me just give it A equals B. A, then A equals what? B. This is going to give us an error. I knew it was going to give us an error. A equals B. Yeah. Let's try if A equals B. Now, let us go ahead and now check for a promise. Now, let us return a promise, right? And this promise, we're going to have what? New what? Promise, to create promise. Now, in this place, we're going to have what? Resolve and what? Reject. So we're going to have resolve. And then also, we're going to have what? A reject. To check if this particular promise is going to be a success or a what? Or a failure. I hope everybody understands it. Do you understand what I just did? Is it clear to you? Let's remove this. Again, I said, want to have a function that compares values, right? Right now, what do we have here? We have A equals to 10, B equals to what? 20. Now I want to compare if A is equals to what? B. You understand? Now if A is equals to B, what are we going to have? Resolve. Why? Resolve is the what? What is resolve? Success. But if A is not equals to B, what are we going to have? Reject. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create your promise. And how do you create your promise? You have what? New what? Promise. Right? But what I want to do is to return a promise value. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to return a promise function, an asynchronous function. You understand? So I want to return that particular function. So what am I going to have? I'm going to have what? New promise, and we're going to have resolve. Resolve and what? Reject. Now, alternatively, we can have what? You can have success and failure, SUS and failure. Friends, you can create anything that you want to create. It's like a variable name. This right here is like a variable name. You can create it, but this is the way promise is being written. You can use what? What am I saying? I can go ahead and say what? Success. Right. Do you understand? This also works, but this is not the standard way of writing promises. In this case, I'm just going to use what? Resolve and what? And reject. Do you get it now? Do you understand? Now we're going to create a function just like your. You don't understand? Okay. Just like your normal what's the name? Click or event listener. How do you have your function? You can just have your arrow function right here. In this case, it's a straight function. You don't need to put this thing. You have the question. It's not about adverse, it's a function. If your promise is right, if it returns a success, certain things get outputted. If it returns a failure, another thing gets that side is being written. This is the syntax. Is it clear? Is it clear to everybody? Or it's clear, is it clear to you? Now, we can now have our if statement. In our if statement, we can have what? If A is equals to what? B. That is your what? That is your result. So we can have what? Result. Now, if A is equals to B, we can now have what? Result. Right? And what do you want in your result? You want to have what? A equals what? A equals B. That's your what? Result. Do you get? Now, we can also have what? A else. So the else is not going to have a what? Your reject. So your reject is not going to have what? A does not equals B. Now, what exactly will this function do to us? And what exactly will this function do to us? First of all, will this function work? Eh? Why? Why will it not work? You say? First of all, your promise is wrapped under what? I hope everybody is listening. I don't like this silence. Is everybody listening to this? Is it clear? Or you want me to explain again? I should explain again. Eh? Then is it clear to us? Now, will this give you an answer, or it is not going to give you an answer? Why? No. What is it? We did not call the function name. I know, but you were not sure. Now, the thing about your function name is that what? It is wrapped in. I told you that you have two types of function. The first is what? Nameless, and the function that what has name. This function, does it have name or not? It has a name. So you need to call it out to make it work. And how do you call it out? You can go ahead and say what? Compare values. But now, it is not going to work the normal way your normal function works. You need to first of all what? Wrap it in a promise. Now, you need to show what happens if your function is a what? If your function is a success or your function is a what? A failure. This one I'm trying to say. It's a promise. Now, I'm going to show you two things now. First of all, after giving it a promise, you need to what? Declare declare what happens if successful, right? Or also declare what happens if failed. Those two things are very important. Yes, you've talked about your reject, you talked about your resolve, but how does your promise actually know what you're trying to resolve or reject? Is by what? Giving it that asynchronous function that what makes it work after everything has loaded up, has been loaded, is downloaded. Do you get? That is what. That is why I'm going to what include the dot then. I'm going to explain what the dot then means. Just let me explain it again. First of all, you've given your function this, isn't it? This is your function, right? Now, Now we've written our function. Now, but if you check something right here, what is it showing me? Come in. All right, recording has started. Now, if you check the result right here, come in, let me just start recording and share my screen. Now, if you go ahead and check the results right here, what are you seeing? A does not equals B. Yes, you are seeing the result in console, isn't it? But what is it trying to tell you? That yes, in the promise, A does not equals B, but you've not actually called the value out. So how do you exactly do you now call the value out? Use your what? Dot 10. Do you know how your dot 10 does now? Now, how exactly are you going to do that? You're going to come to your code. You're going to say what? Dot 10. That means dot this particular what? Particular function. Dot what? 10. Do you get? And in this dot 10, you're going to get the response. Right? And in the response, you're going to what? Print out your what? Your console. I can say a response, or let's just say RES. So response, and in the response, I'm going to call out my console. I'm going to say console.log. Sorry. Console.log response. Now, this response is going to give me my what? My success. Do you get? Now, in the case that I have a what? I have an error. I also need to what? Catch the error. And I can easily say what? Dot catch. Dot catch. Now, I'm going to explain what dot catch means to you now. Dot catch. And I have my what? My error. And I can easily say what? Console.log error. Now, if you come back now, how are we going to have? I'm going to refresh it. Now, can you see what you have? A does not equal B. But if I refresh it, can you see it does not occur at once? It takes time. Because why? It needs to first of all go through the function to see if all of those things are correct before giving us the result. But if we are using your normal if and else statement, you just see it appear on the console immediately, right? But in this case, it takes time first, even if it's just a split second, to go through everything and then see if everything actually what meets that particular or that required function. Now, I use two things. I used dot then and I use what? Dot catch. Now, your dot then is your what? Your result. That's your what? Your result. That's exactly what gives you the what? The right the right message. Now, in the case that your dot then does not give you the the success message, you now need to what? Catch the error. That is where I'm going to explain what try and catch. So I'm going to have what try and what catch. Try and catch. So let's say catch. Now, what does try and catch mean? Try and catch in JavaScript is basically using what? In easily catching errors. Let me remove this. Let me remove this. And let us have just a simple if and else statement. Reset. So you see what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm going to have an if and else statement that checks if A is equal to what B. So let's say let A equals to 10 and what let B equals to what 20. Then I'm going to have an if statement that says what if A equals what 10 equals B, what do you want? You want to have what console.log what A equals B, right? Else what do you want to have? You want to have console.log A does not equals B. A does not equal B. Now, in this case right now, you've actually done all of these things, right? But if you check it out, now, what I do is that A does not equals B, isn't it? A does not equals B, isn't it? Now, in the event that you do not have anything yet, let's say you remove this, what exactly are you going to have? You're still going to have nothing on code, which is going to be an error. Now, in this place, I can easily go ahead and wrap this up in a try and catch block. I can say try. And in this try, I'm going to have my what? My function or whatever it is I want to have. Right? Now, if this works, if this is correct, it works. Now, in case this particular thing that you just tried out does not work, you're not going to what? Have a catch block to catch that error. So I can have what? Error. And in this case, I can see what's here, console.log error. Do you get it? That is basically what you're trying to catch is saying. Try is saying, okay, I'm going to try the function. If this function works, what's going to happen? Give it to me. But if that function does not work, I'm going to move on to the catch to catch my error for me. That's exactly what I did in this dot then and dot catch. Now dot catch is like a normal, like you're trying to catch a particular error with the dot notation. Saying what dot catch, I'm trying to catch the error. Now in this case, now if I remove this 20, what am I going to have? I will have error. Okay. Let's try something else. So let's try and say let's try to have another error in this case. So we'll have let me remove this here, and let me remove this console.log here. You have a question? So now let us try and refresh it. So I'm trying to see if I have the error outside. All right, let us use the former example that we used. So I'm going to uncomment this now, this particular promise here, and then we're going to try it again. So right here now, what exactly have we done now? So we have our function, and in this function we have our if and else statement, isn't it? We have what we need. What exactly are we trying to do here? Exactly. So you're going to have your resolve and reject. Now, if this particular function or this particular thing that you're trying to check, if it is true, what gets printed out? The result. That's your dot 10. Now, if it is wrong or it probably prints out a failure message, what's going to give to you? The catch. That catch is for what? Basically catching your error. Do you understand the try and catch block? Is it clear to you? Is it clear to everybody? Now that is exactly why we use what? Dot catch. Now in this case, we have what? Compare values. And in this case, we are saying dot 10. If this is correct, gives us what? The response. If the catch is what gets printed out, what will give to us? The error. Is it clear now? What parameter? The error, right? Yeah, you can have error. You cannot put any other parameter there, sorry. You cannot put any other parameter there. No. It's like you're putting error. You understand? Yeah, you're putting error in the first one, and the second one you also what added error, or you shorten it to what error. Alternatively, I can also have what response in this place, as you can see, response, and then in this place I also have what response. Now you're going to have same result. Now, but you can shorten it to what RES or ERR. So RES is for what response, ERR is for what error. Do you understand it now? So if you come here, you are still going to have, okay, nice, it's giving me response not defined. I think I'll just give it, a capital R instead of this. So it'll be a capital R instead. Now this should work well for us. Now let us check. Now as you can see, you should have, okay, I think it's just RES our let's give it the RES. Probably they've changed something there. Probably they've changed the new syntax. So if you give it RES, it should work. Reference type is defined. What's it giving to me? Slow. You know what? I'm going to change this to error. There's an if here. Oh, I've here. Now let us go back and do your response. Response and response. Then in this process to our error, and we're gonna have what error also. Now let us check it out. Can you see now? Response and error. Do you get? So it has to be the same thing. So that you write response, you write who, or just write RES or ERR. Is it clear to you? That's exactly what your error and response does. Now, do we understand this first example of promises? Is it clear to you? Is it very clear to you? Yeah? Clear. It's not very clear. What do you have issues with? Is it that I don't understand the syntax? Or you don't know why we need it? Why we are using it? It can be either in the catch. In the catch, you can even have your own error message that you probably set. That you set exactly that you cannot display there. But in this case, there's like an automatic error message that comes whenever you have issues with your syntax. It just displays. This is the error that we're talking about. Do you understand? So if you probably you make mistakes while writing, if you put error, you easily know what you did wrong. So for instance, now if I remove, so let's say I remove reject from here now. Let's remove it. I just check it out. Now, as you can see, this is an error message. What is it telling me? Reference error reject. Now, let me say I remove the dot catch. Let's remove dot catch and let us see what we have. You see that this, you don't understand it. It just gives you a, although some people will still understand, but in the dot catch that I now put error will make you understand, make you understand the error message more. Now, if I put the dot catch now, you should see that the error message will now be clearer. What will it tell you? It's saying that what? Reference reject is not what defined. It's trying to tell you that what? You should always have what? Reject. Resolve and what? Reject. So automatically it tells you that okay, you've not actually what defined the reject that you're supposed to what put. Now, if you check it out now, if you come back to your code, you know that okay, after putting resolve, I should add what? Reject. You see how easy the error message actually made it for us? It's much more easier to read and understand. You understand it now? That's it. And the reason why you need promises is so that you can understand asynchronous programming. Like I said, you will write dynamic programs. You're not just writing static programs that it is just there. Sometimes you just need to input something for certain things to happen. And before that thing is inputted, you need to what? Run those functions asynchronously. Because their own input is sometimes the button is dependent on the input that they input. Do you get login, for example? If you're writing the wrong password on Facebook, what is it going to give to you? And what type of what stage of promise is that? What example of promise is that? Reject or failure. You understand? It's trying to tell you that okay, no, this particular thing that you're trying to write is a what? Is a failure. Why? Because you're not actually creating an account before. You're just trying to like write a password that does not exist. So there is a what? There is a reject that comes with a what? A dot catch error. Now that dot catch error will now automatically refer to them that okay, how far you have not created an account with us. Do you get? Now, if you now put in the password and the password is what is in the database, it matches with what we have on our own account. What will happen? It logs you in. That is a what? Result. Success. Someone has asked me that question before, but let me just show you something. So if I say success, let's try. Let me just show you success, right? And if I have failure, then you change it to what? Success, and you change it to what? Failure. Now let us check it out. Does it work? So you see what I'm saying now? It is not necessary. It's like I think she asked me. What I'm saying is that these things are not exactly built-in. What's the built-in way of writing? It's just like they're telling you that this is the right way, this is the way you should write it. It's just like when you're writing your loops, use I. But that I, you can change it to any variable name. But the right way to write your loops so that you understand that it's true what, use what, I, J, or K. Do you get? It's the same thing with success and failure. You can use what, resolve and what, reject. It still works as long as you call them the way you're supposed to call them later. Right? It's as if you are defining your parameters in your function. Remember what parameters are. You define your parameters here and easily what, call them out here. Do you get it now? This is basically what your success and failure does, or your reject and resolve does. I can even say correct and wrong, depending on what you want. But the right way is to use resolve and or reject, or success and failure. Is it clear to you? Is it clear? All right. So I think from this now, everybody should understand the basics of promises. Do you understand promises? Is it clear? All right. Let us go ahead and write this down. We'll take 2 more examples and then we'll just call it.